who are Mary Graham, Eric Ye, Eric Baisa, and Maygie Li. California College of the Arts campuses are located in the Hichuan and Yaluma, also known as Oakland and San Francisco, respectively, on the unceded territories of the Chochenyo and Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, who have continuously lived on this land since time immemorial. We recognize the historic discrimination and violence inflicted upon Indigenous peoples in California and the Americas, including their forced removal from ancestral lands and the deliberate and systematic destruction of their communities and culture. CCA honors Indigenous peoples, past, present, and future, here and around the world, and we wish to pay respect to local elders, including those of the lands from which you're joining us virtually today. Today we're celebrating and going to be viewing 4 artists. Each artist will give a 10-minute presentation introducing their work. After each presentation, our visiting respondent will have a 10-minute conversation with each artist, providing feedback and asking them questions. Please note that we won't have time during this event for a public Q&A, but we encourage attendees to drop comments and affirmations in the Zoom chat. The chat will be saved at the end of this event and sent to the seniors as a sort of virtual guest book. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce our guest respondent, Anna Saiki. Anna is a Turkish-American artist based in San Francisco and the founding director of Slash, a nonprofit visual art space founded in 2018 to advance and promote contemporary art in San Francisco throughout exhibitions, publications, and public programming. Anna has exhibited her work locally and nationally at Slash. She works closely with guest curators as they bring together Bay Area and international artists in their thematic exhibition. Anna received her BFA from Ohio State University and an MFA from California College in the Arts. Please give a warm welcome via handshakes to our guest respondent, Anna. Thank you for joining us. Our first presenter today will be Eric Ye. So Eric, you can share your screen and go ahead and begin.
You guys see that?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for coming. This is Eric.
We're not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I'm a Chinese from China. I'm an enjoy major. Yeah.
Could you speak up a little bit more and speak a little bit closer to the microphone? We're just getting a little interference, Eric. Thanks.
Through my exploration of painting, I have come to realize that an accident helping me make sense of the world around me. My research focused on the interplay between my personal space and the environment. I often wonder why we are here and what we are doing with our time. Investigate the emotional state I hope achieve. On this base of philosophy thinking, my work aims to improve one's ability to paint. Classic and realistic painting are my favorite genres. I spend a lot of time here on my fundamental painting idea and skill for execution are expected to Sorry. Does that work now?
I'm sorry, you cut out for a little bit, Eric.
Okay, so to research in visually stimulating work for the public. Let's go. For artists, self-portrait are essential, right? And I like to draw some the self-portrait. So I like to try the different way to do the self-portrait and to improve my painting skill. Like this is digital painting. To create, I like to use different material to do the artwork. So this one I draw on Procreate. Before 2020, I haven't found my painting skill because I practiced a lot the sketch like in China, and it's all everybody is same in China. So I want to find some my own personal style. Until like 2 years ago, I started to find my own painting skill. And my favorite artist, Egon Schiele. Yeah, Zhou Chunyang is really famous Chinese artist. He good at oil painting and traditional Chinese painting. And I also like his drip. He really good at the oil painting to use drip. And this is actually, he's not very famous. He's Chinese artist, Xu Hongxiang. He's my friend, also my teacher, and he good at multiple work. He like use photograph on the back side and put on some acrylic on the top. So it's really powerful, and like his work so much. This is my freshman work. So for the Max 660, the material is acrylic. Pig is the title of this painting because I'm a big fan of animals. I have kept a lot of reptiles. I realized one day that animal may be unaware that we have a feeding relationship with them. So it's funny to me. I'm not sure if this means that if someone like feeding us, but we don't know, maybe someone is looking at us and we know we are of it, right? So through this work, I hope to remind myself to keep thinking about the relationship between myself and my surroundings. This painting was inspired by the work of Lu Xun. In China, Lu Xun is a well-known writer. He used to write about people eat other people. This term refers the disadvantage of people in an inherently bad situation. So I just want to try find a way to say like the same situation is something bad happened in China, like in COVID-19. Yeah. This is a portrait of my girlfriend as a child. She asked me to draw a portrait for her. I believe she has a special personality. As a result, I want to present her in different way. As you can see, this painting is unlike any I have done before. So it's also a good challenge for me, and I can get some improvement in this painting. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys group work. So these three painting are group work. Animal appear in all of this painting. In this painting, I want to express the word. You know, people and animal each have their own thoughts and the word. So the next one, title is Hacker. Here's like a word game, like a word play. Hacker is Chinese sounds like black. So we call that 黑客. He is blacksmith. So it looks like, oh no, the ant is also black, right? So the ant looks like, how to say that, like living in the 2D dimension. And I explain my worry about the future. Okay. Sorry. Technology. I want this painting to be a funny, not that heavy, and it almost like a spoof. And the next one, the title is Sea Turtle. It's also a wordplay, same with the last piece. When some international student go back China, then we will call them as 海龟. 海龟 in China is how to say that, like is same with the international student. And you know, I just wish I am a 海龟, right? When I go back China, and I hope I can get the freedom, and I want to do something what I want, and I can do anything, be swimmingly. Yeah. And right is communication color in China. And if you want to find some color to represent the government, you can use right. So that's why I choose right. This one is social distance. It's also digital painting. The image show me going to the bathroom. I hope to impart that everyone has their own different personal space, and I believe we all have our own social distance and bottom line. So we don't want to be touched by other people, right? Yeah. So this is a group work what I working for this semester. The pace of life is fanatic now, so everyone are crazy, everyone are busy, and most people are spend a lot of time to do some work they don't want to do, and it's just for make money, right? And I hope to encourage people to ponder life meaning, and what does it mean that we are always on the go. So that's what I want to see. And the material I used acrylic, the wood board, and the size choice is a small piece, pretty small. It's my belief that the small piece of this painting encourage viewer to take their time and look carefully, and reflect on what they are seeing. Painting was done in a future setting, and I want to it looks more like how to say that, Westland punk feel. Yeah. That's it.
Thank you, Eric, for your presentation. You can stop screen sharing right now, and I'll invite Anna to share comments with you.
Wow, I'm just blown away, Eric. This was a beautiful presentation. And obviously, I don't have to state this, but you are very skillful. And I really appreciate all the things you shared, your earlier work and your current projects. And I definitely see that they're related. I'm looking down because I wrote a lot of things while I was listening to your presentation. I guess my biggest first question is your choice of making a digital painting and a physical one. If you can talk more about like which one do you choose, like based on is it the ideas that you think they suit more to show in a digital painting? Because the one digital painting was, I think, the social distance. And then you were talking about like distancing. And I thought that was so interesting to make a digital social distance painting because, you know, digital is already kind of explains a distance. I mean, implies a distance. So if you can talk a little bit more about that, I'll be very curious to hear.
Right. Before I learning about the traditional Chinese ink painting, and it's really hard to do something about the digital. It's a big challenge for me. But now, have you guys heard about the NFT or the Meta Universal?
Mm-hmm.
I think I should to do that. So last 2 years, I'm really hard to working for improve the digital painting scale to try to do my best. I think in the future, if I want to my work, more people see my work, then I need to use the digital to make painting. Yeah.
Interesting.
Important.
So do you see that, I'm also curious, like, would you see your digital paintings existing in a physical gallery space, or you prefer them to exist in a digital platform?
Oh, I haven't think of that before.
Something to think about. I think it's, yeah, I think either is very interesting. But yeah, I mean, I'm also curious, like, what do you plan in the future? Are you planning to go to grad school or make more digital paintings, physical paintings?
Yeah, I think I should be do some more digital painting. I still like acrylic and oil. Yeah, it's not a real question for me. For me, so yeah, of course I can do some. I can focus on I just want to focus on my art, and for me it doesn't matter. It's online. It's some visual work or oil. Yeah, it's never mind.
Very cool. Thank you. And I was very, very, very interested in your color palette. And I thought like it was very interesting the way you approached a little bit of like, you know, the capitalist society where everybody is like, they don't have a face, you know, and that had a little bit of like a dark kind of undertone, you know, monochrome, black and grays with orange faces, versus the way you approach like your girlfriend, you know, that was like a lot of blues and greens, and like you could sense that there's like like you had care for that person. So I thought that was very interesting to see. And also that sea turtle, that like red, orange, very bright. I was really interested in it. And it's like, assuming these are all like very precise decisions, but if you can talk more about that, I'll be curious to hear your thoughts.
Thank you. I like the strong color and really strong contrast color. I don't know why. Before this group work, you can see the black, some more black, the dark color. And before this project, I always like strong color, because I have some show in China. I want to my painting is when you come in the exhibition. I want to my painting is the first one you see, so I want to be the center. So that's why I like use more stronger color.
That's great. I like that you think about that. You want to be the star of the show.
Thank you both so much. I'm just gonna jump in here and keep us on time. Congratulations, Eric. Thank you very much. I'd like to move on to our next presenter, individualized major, Mary Graham.
Hello. Just a moment. Okay, so I'm going to share with you some the work from my senior thesis exhibition entitled Kin. My name is Mary Graham. I'm graduating soon. Here's my artist statement. I'm a Philadelphia-born artist and singer. I'm here based in San Francisco. Through the course of my work in performance, painting, and sculpture, I attempt to articulate the presence of our common human ancestry. And it's this philosophy which guides the intent of the work to provide the opportunity for audience members to meditate on our connections to one another, to our ancestors, and to ourselves. So the project statement for this particular body of work that I'm about to show you, the exhibition includes 3 works: Kin, Calling, and Portraits of My Ancestors. On the whole, the work serves as a meditation upon our origins, both as individuals and as members of a deep shared history, as it asks these 3 questions: where do we come from, where will we go, and how will we continue to remain? So this, here's a little exhibition shot of the 3 pieces. We have Kin, Calling, and Portraits of My Ancestors on the edge here. The first piece I'll share with you is the first piece that you see when you walk into the exhibition space. It's Portraits of My Ancestors. This is a series of works on unvarnished copper. They're all oil on copper. It's an ongoing series in which I paint the members of my family, my ancestors. Some of them are living and some of them have passed away. This particular painting is entitled Reassurance. It's a painting of my great grandmother and her daughter Dora, my great aunt. So the image for this painting appeared to me in a dream. My great grandmother and Aunt Dora were there in the dream, and they were reassuring me and letting me know it was going to be okay. This is my Uncle Floyd. I did this one recently. This one is more like the other paintings that I've done in this series. Most of them are on the 12 by 6 inch copper panels in that sort of narrow format. And these, 8 by 10s are newer. This one's entitled Reunion. This is my grandfather, Graham, and this is me. We met once when I was an infant before he passed away. So I made a new painting depicting the two of us reuniting. I guess I should speak a little bit more to the degradation of the surface of the copper. As you can see, over time, the point is that with every touch of the copper of the surface, then it collects those fingerprints and it gathers this patina. So over time, the image will transform or degrade. So it alludes to these metaphors about memory, and it kind of lends this kind of like liminal and spiritual plane, the copper does. Everyone is kind of existing in these sorts of in-between spaces. So I suppose for this part of the exhibition it's more very personal to me, and kind of asking the question, like, where do we come from, or where do I come from? The next piece in the exhibition is its titular piece, Kin, which is a series of sculptural heads. Here they all are together, and then I included a little close-up shot here. So they're all on paper mache clay. I just painted them in oil. They're sculpted. I could really go into the methodology behind, or like how I made them. It was a lot of fun. Most of them started with a ball of paper, which I then wrapped in this very versatile material, this paper mache clay, which is a composite clay with plaster powder, clay powder, and paper fibers and some binder. You mix it with water and it takes on any consistency that you wish. It can be like a very clay-like consistency, an air dry clay, or it can be a paste that I mix with shredded paper and, and kind of sculpt that way. So it's extremely versatile, very heavy and brittle and delicate. So in the future, I'll probably be using something a bit stronger. So they range in size. The smallest, this is not one of the smallest. The smallest one is just smaller than life size. I don't know if you can, yikes. I can't see it, but you can see it. It's this one right here is the smallest one. And obviously this one's the biggest one. Uh-oh, okay, here we go. So yeah, this one's 5 by 7, 12 by 18, it's getting a little bit bigger, 24 by 28, a little bit bigger, and 30 by 42 is the biggest one. It comes up to about my waist. Yeah. Oh, I should talk about what it means. So it's entitled Kin, and I began making them as a little kid. My mother and I would make these teeny tiny little doll heads because I love dolls. So we would make these tiny little dolls together. And then over time, the little doll heads just kind of grew in scale until now here, they're very large now and they're not really dolls anymore. So it was just sort of a creative impulse. It was this pure creative energy that was just coming out of me. I have lots of influences in my life, and I feel very lucky. Both my parents are artists. My father has been working on this series of, he's a photographer, he's been working on this series of portraits for about 20 years, which is a little kind of how old I am. So I've been surrounded by these portraits my whole life, by these faces, and by this guiding philosophy of generosity and my social responsibility and all these ideas about, about justice and diversity and the importance of all of that, and also family. So these are the guiding principles. So kind of naturally, this just sort of emerged out of that soup inside of me. So I didn't know what it was about until I asked people what they thought about it during critique, or what they thought it was about. And they made comments that were very aligned with my own belief system. So that was a relief. I was glad that this piece was just something that I already knew what it was about. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, my hope is that people look at the work and begin to see themselves or people that they know in the faces. And obviously it's just the first initial stepping stone. I'm very excited about these heads, but I think this is just a very preliminary experiment, because the point is, like, if we can see ourselves and our loved ones in this work, that if we can identify this group as a family, then what does that mean about our relationships to others that also don't look like us? So it's real basic stuff. And that's just level number one. That's what I take responsibility for in terms of the interpretation of it. And everything else is also, it's all for you. It's all very spiritual. Okay, that's that. The final piece in the exhibition is called Calling. Oh, this work is about how we will continue to remain and also where we come from. This piece is called Calling. It's a video installation. It's a video projection on silk with a 6-foot painting in the background called Self-Portrait Passing Away. So together those two pieces make Calling. I'll play you a little video. How about that? I hope I shared my sound. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's just a little video from another, I had it installed in another show. So I just, this is what it looks like and what it sounds like. So basically that goes on for 10 minutes. And then if you can imagine being in this room, the walls are very high, everything is made of concrete. So the sound has this like vibrating kind of echoing quality. I have it playing quietly. So the beginning is just like very soft oohing and ahhing, and then it reaches this crescendo and people get quiet. So it's this very faint little woman like calling to you, like in this veil, and then behind her is this other person kind of walking into the unknown with her back turned to you. So I don't know what the piece is about. I thought it was about dying, but it can be about anything you want. That's not true. It's about dying. But it's very, I try to leave things very open-ended and very basic. So I can say it's about something, but it's also whatever that means to you, because it's a very fundamentally human thing, which is what I said in my artist statement. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. I said in a different artist statement. Yikes. I didn't prepare very much.
Hey, Mary, we're at 10 minutes.
All right.
All right.
Okay, that's it anyway.
Okay, thank you very much. Great presentation. Do you have any more images to show?
No, I think that's it. I guess I'll stop sharing.
Okay, thank you. And now I'll invite Anna to share in conversation.
Hi, Mary.
Hi.
Again, like, wow, just, this was so beautiful. I love your creative energy. Like, keep that going. Really, I love that you're experimenting with all sorts of mediums, and also I love that you even use your voice. Like, that was so beautiful. I really like that. And I think your ideas around, ancestry, where we come from, where did we come from, who are we, and where are we going? And you kept saying like basic, but I don't see this as basic. These are just very fundamental questions that we struggle every day almost. And I really appreciate that you took really like intentional art making into this. I was just sorry, I'm just like complimenting you. I guess a question to me, I wasn't really clear. The faces, are they based on people that you know, or your?
No, they're fictional faces. And I
Fictional.
guess that is sort of an important point, that they're just kind of stand-ins, or I don't know, these kinds of, I don't know what the right word is, but it is important that they're fake people. They're from my imagination.
Interesting.
Intentionally constructed to be a certain way and to evoke a certain feeling and idea.
Interesting. Yeah, I saw them as like you approach them with tenderness, and most of them had wrinkles. I think someone wrote in the comments too. Is that intentional, that they're not like young folks, or they have their characters, lines, you know? I find them I find that's very striking.
Maybe it wasn't, it's very difficult to say what is intentional and what isn't, because it's like it's all very subconscious to me. So I guess I have, my parents are, I've grown up with a family that is very old, I guess. So we can, yeah, I don't know. So I'm used to hanging around this kind of history in people. So I guess I was trying to convey that sense of time and a sense of very old generational love that gets passed from a very long time to now.
That's beautiful. And you're so lucky to have this family of artists. There's an artist we work with at Slash, and their name Sydney Kane. I don't know if you're familiar, but they also focus on, I can write their name on the chat. They also focus on this like ancestry, but also it kind of develops into like futurism too. So, and also they like to honor those, like how you honored your family. And I also really love the detail on these copper pieces, especially in that reunion, you and your grandfather, like just holding hands. I thought that was such a sweet moment. And the scales seem relatively smaller, but I also love the way you treated the surface. And my understanding that copper is like raw.
Yeah, it's
so
full, it's just a copper plate, and then the only paint is the paint that you see.
I see. And it's like your fingerprints, or through touching that gets those shapes. Yeah.
It's sort of unintentional. I try to touch it as little as I can, but you know, obviously like the side of my hand, or just the edges, or like the way I treat the surfaces is like, I don't know how legit it is, but I sand it and then I clean it with alcohol and then I rub it with garlic. So then the garlic kind of does funny things. So I have to research more to see if that's a legitimate process.
No, I love that there's also a smell, because there's the sound, there's 3D.
There's no smell.
There's no
smell. They smell fine.
But that could be interesting too. Yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed seeing your, very creative energy being expressed in different mediums. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciated. Good presentation, Mary. I appreciate your spirit as well. It was really lovely to hear you talk about your work. I would like to introduce our next presenter, Maygie Li. Are you there, Maygie? There we are.
Yes,
Maygie Li.
I am here. All right. Does everything look all right? All right, superb. Hi, welcome. I'm Maygie Li. I am graduating this semester. Thank you for coming to my talk. So this is the Dear Maygie projects that I think of as a set and my chapters here at CCA. So this is my first slide. This is what I believe to be as like, nice to meet you, Maygie. And this is my artist statement. So how I grew up as an artist is the artist that I grew into today. Introduction into my younger years, raised by immigrant parents in Montana. We owned a small restaurant where I grew up. The influence of my childhood in Montana, especially as a young girl and a person of color, has guided and transformed my work in unfathomable directions that I'm continually discovering and navigating. Exploring my experiences with growing up in a penniless household of immigrants, family relationships that reflect my childhood, growing up as a restaurant kid, and what it meant to be Asian in a predominantly white society, and how I developed into the artist that I am today. Painting based on my narrative and how I feel at that moment, who I am during that period of time, and who I will become or manifest to become are all questions that my art possesses. And I feel that it is really important to talk about where I really come from and how I started as an artist. I really started with traditional oil paintings, painting classics of Dorothy Dent, Thomas Kincaid, and other American painters. I painted very classical landscapes and animals, raised on this traditional ideas of art and what American painters represent. As this young painter, I was really expected to uphold this formalism of art and what oil paintings represented. So at the age of 12, from 7 to 12, I was with a art instructor, and I lost my art teacher, and I completely stopped painting for the fear of expectations, fear of failure, and I turned to graphite. I really kind of began as a self-taught graphite artist working with hyper-realistic pieces, and that was, to me, what was the kind of art that was acceptable and praised. And this isn't to praise my own work, but to critique my practice and how my perspective was super limited. And because of my academia, I was really able to change and grow into this other artist, not dismissing this realist art, but in works of hyper-realism, but removing this crutch of what I had depended on as an artist. So two painters that I really take away from at this moment, especially, is Hung Lu and Woody de Othello. It really proves to me how versatile my influences are and how versatile my work can be. And Hung Lu really kind of pushed and influenced me, and forever will be an influence in how she approached contemporary Western art and within the combinations of traditional Eastern art. And it really helped me pursue new avenues within myself. So my first portrait is really kind of inspired by Hung Lu and going back into the traditionalisms of how to paint and how to approach painting. And it really mentally helped me bridge a lot of those art practices that I struggled with. So these are a lot of progress photos that within my first years of academia and my school, and what I was working with kind of mentally and emotionally and spiritually, and kind of exploring my potentials and boundaries that I had set, trying to really overcome those obstacles. Really understanding how to paint again, taking my time to rebuild this confidence and this strength as this artist, starting with the foundation that isn't just simply built on technical skill, but understanding how paint works and how colors interact and what makes me happiest while painting. I really wanted to understand all of that, and this is such an important process for me, was to kind of figure out, am I this graphite artist or am I this painter? And those are all questions that, you know, resided in me, and I had fought a lot of that, looking at myself through these changes and phases, but not just as an artist, but as a daughter, as a lover, as a fighter, as everything, but mostly a person. And I think this piece especially says a lot to that. This is kind of when I was messing around with abstract. You can, you know, see how a lot of those technical skills that I took away from that I use in my newer works. And I just felt like the difficulties on breaking boundaries on size, on composition, on conceptualization and subjecthood, I was really lost, and I felt like I had to tailor myself to be a certain artist. So kind of really exploring and expanding on not just my family and my cultural experience, but overall the humanly experience, the humanly experience, right? Continually really exploring and expanding on like my culture and what it is like to be Asian and what it's like to be Asian American, and bridging a lot of those gaps within me is important. I feel like these sets of works are really kind of me trying to find the flow in my own paintings and breaking away from those influences, honing in on my style and respecting that space to grow within me, and understanding that it's okay to be super versatile. It's okay to do a little bit of everything from A to Z, and I felt like I really needed to find that. During the pandemic, my work really slows down. So at this time, I was looking for a lot of self-love and self-introspection, and how do I nurture this Aphrodite within me, right? I feel like a lot of my work is based on constantly reassessing and reevaluating myself more than just as an artist. This last meal is more about the relationships that I've had through my life, rather than just death alone, and experiencing the dyings of relationships, but also growing into new ones, and how I feel in that space during those moments. Being present as an artist is really important for me, and residing in that space and painting during those times that I feel like I need to paint, and respecting that feeling. So just playing around with a lot of mediums and compositions, and continually experimenting. I like pushing myself mentally and emotionally many times, exploring these fears and patterns and recognitions, and reassessing, constantly reassessing and processing and expanding my stimulation into my other works and practices. I think a lot about my childhood and the reflection of my roots and where I come from as an artist. On top of painting, I've written a piece inspired from this painting of my mom, and I would like to read what's highlighted in red. So, music is universal. So is her words. Maybe built backwards, thinking straight forward. Music like yours, curved to define to your taste, your salted language, speaking with her sweet tongue. So I like to do a little bit of writing alongside my pieces sometimes, again, exploring works within myself. I would like to share a bit of my digital work, again, finding symbolic moments of my inspirations from my childhood, again, bridging that gap between my Chinese and Chinese American culture. And then these last sets of projects is really paying homage to me as a child and where I grew up as this restaurant kid. And so I just want to quickly just run through these photos of me putting together this last set of exhibitions that I have, and just paying tribute for their work, but also really addressing the problems and the orientalization of what it was like growing up in a restaurant. And so, and how do we change our culture to be digestible to Americans and the American delicacy? And but thank you so much for listening. That is the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Maygie. Great presentation. Love to see how it all came together. So, Anna, all you.
I'm like getting so excited seeing all these works. I feel like it's such a privilege to be seen, and also you talking about them. Yeah, I mean, impressive skill levels and experimentation. And I really, I should thank you for sharing your background information and your personal cultural experience from your childhood to, growing up as a, you know, Asian American person, and yeah, your parents' occupation. Yeah, they're all really apparent in your work. Like, it seems like your work is so personal, and the way you speak about it, it's so genuine, and I really appreciate that. So thank you for that. I guess my one question at the moment is, you were showing some works that are hyper realistic and some abstraction. So I'm curious, like, which one are you finding yourself more drawn into, or is it more like experimentation through whatever feels right? Because I think you said something about, like, at that moment you just needed to make that. Like, it almost sounds like art is an essential way of living for you. So I'm curious to hear about that.
I think the problems that I deal with is really trying too hard to differentiate what I am, when I can be all of those things, and hold love and space for myself as an artist to be whatever I want to be. And I think I take a little bit away from everything. As you see in my most recent works, it's a really beautiful homogenization of things that I took during my early years of hyper-realistic works, very detailed, very technically skilled, but also using that opportunity to experiment in abstract. I think I really found great flow in my most recent set of works, especially with the paintings of with my self-portrait, and also with the painting of my mother. So yeah, I think to answer your question, I would like to say that I have love and a good understanding of both at the moment, and I'm really excited to see how that expands in the future.
Yeah, and I can definitely see your influences. I love that you're influenced by Hanlu and Woody, who was a CCA MFA student, which we're very proud of. Yeah, I also want to comment about your your words, your title. Like, it was so poetic, the one, like, my last 9 brain cells, like that one I took a note of. And also the words you've written alongside with your My Mama painting, titled My Mama. So I'm curious, like, is it just an information you're giving us now, or like, where do they where do you see your writing existing?
I think I write I don't think of myself as a writer or a poet. I just overall, I just think of myself as this artist and this artistic experience. And I think writing is just another outlet for me, that sometimes does go very well with my paintings and sometimes not. I don't really necessarily see it as any platform. It's just words that reside in me that I feel like should be written out on paper.
Gotcha. You're just has lots of exponential creative energy. I love that. I'm gonna type a artist that I thought maybe you find interesting. Hayao Pozante, who is a Turkish artist, that's my fellow Turkish artist, which I thought maybe you'll find interesting looking up. Mm-hmm. There you go. How are we on time, James?
We're doing good.
We're doing good. We have some more time. Okay, I can just go on.
Yeah, we got time for one question or comment. Sure.
Yeah. I also love all the like avenues you took. Yeah, about Yeah, and okay, this is the one. You were talking about these chapters. Are they chapters that you kind of see as chapters? Because I mean, it's your life is a narrative, or is it more like chapters of your art practice, or when you make paintings, or like when you finish a chapter, it's like, okay, a new chapter starts. Like, how do you kind of navigate that?
I think I navigate it in whatever feels right. If I'm going to be most honest, I think we all have these significant chapters in our lives, but also within our works. And I just, because my art practice had started from so long ago, it really definitely most definitely ties into the work that I produce now. And so I would feel like I missed something if I did not present where everything really started. And I am regretful that I wasn't able to reside in my last chapter a little bit longer, explaining more of my story to you. But I think it's just this feeling and how art moves and progresses through me. And so those chapters feel very right. They feel like they're in the right moments, in the right space and time for me. And when I see my work progress, I know that, oh, maybe this is the time for a new chapter in my life and new changes in my life, and I'll accept them with love.
Thank you, Maygie. That was great. I'm excited to see the install. It's great to see you jump into such a big scale.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
And now I would like to introduce Eric Baisa, our final presenter of the day. If you would like to screen share, there you go.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming. Yeah, let me get this screen shared. So my name is Eric Baisa. I'm graduating soon. I was born and raised in Torrance, California, a little between LA and Long Beach. I'm a second gen Filipino American. I'm a swimmer and a water sign, some things that are in my mind a lot of. This image is me when I'm 2 years old. I vividly remember running my fingers through these carpets and the colors. And it stuck with me. It stuck with me till pretty recently, probably 2019. I started tapping into these colors. Some artist influences I have are Fred Tomaselli. I'm in love with how he collages and incorporates color and rhythm in his paintings. And also Sadao Hasegawa, he was one of the first figure painters that I felt represented in seeing Asian bodies and depictions and mythologies. Akiyoshi Kitaoka is another artist that I'm keeping close. I just watch everything they do. They make optical illusion arts, and they also study it and how it affects the eye, and it intrigues me so much. I could look at it all day. So I started CCA as an illustration major, and I was completely obsessed with figuration and water and trying to depict just what it feels like to be floating. And usually when I was in water, it's with other people. I was in swim meets, I was in a swim team, and the ocean, and it just feels like everyone's there enjoying this body, and we're all in it together in a way. These are my first paintings at CCA, Hands Free and Mind Cage. We're really focusing on these shapes of stars, explosions, gates, and also getting into grids and formations, and also thinking about optical art at the same time. A little further into that same year, I started making these shower paintings, thinking about just like purification and like the thoughts I have like in the shower when it's like free form thoughts almost. And this painting on the right was kind of a breakthrough painting for me. I used my partner's shadow to help create this image, and it it just makes me feel so good. I like looking at my old art because I'm so happy about how they came out. And it's just evolved so much. What now and Foresight have they just they're about like me coming out as gay and like trying to navigate where to go from there. Foresight's about this like impending doom that I always thought about was gonna happen, and these like meteors in the top that look kind of like a star. They're a reoccurring icon that I have in my paintings. But this was like pre-pandemic, so I was thinking about this painting all the time. I was like, oh, got a little foresight. I could see into the future a little bit. If I put it on a canvas, it might happen. So gotta watch out for that power, you know. After that really big painting, this one was actually 5 feet by 7 feet, so it's pretty large. My largest painting. And I went really small. Paper size, maybe like biggest 22 by 30 inches. This one's not too large, but this is 2019, 2020, and 2021. 2019, I was like really focused on creating shapes, creating colors, different gradients that I could use with alcohol inks. 2020, I was more focused on clusters and the proximities between each dot and color and like the families they have within the color wheel, I guess. And Rainbow Road was more of like movement and how to create more of like a a space to have the eye track in a circle, like spiral almost, and just get lost. We have some images that I incorporated acrylic with. I wanted to take away the whites of the paper. I didn't want any background. I just wanted full color simulation. And these represent just um like the now moments, and especially like movement. Like when we're walking, we're kind of looking forward, but we're also like paying attention to our peripherals and having everything moving, and like we're taking all these information at the same time. So I want to make art that kind of feels like that. It's not like a central image. It's more of like you take bits and pieces from what you see on the sides. And I love how radials work that way. It's like what's in front of you, but then everything's moving away at the same time. Imitation Party and Chatter Platter. I made these when I was really hungry, especially for like conversations during lockdown. Um, like you lose contact with some people during that time. Definitely lost some friends, and I feel like a lot of the dots and the ink drops just represented chatter and like a radio station that we all tune into. And they also represent this distance that I've had with my parents. They've spoken in their mother tongue at home, and I've always thought of it as like a radio station that I wasn't able to tune into. I didn't really know what they were saying. I didn't know how their days were. I didn't know the simple things. And over time, I was able to really get to know them, and I'm just so in love with my relationship with my family now. Um, I did a little install at Right Window Gallery on Valencia Street. Um, I proposed this idea to like create the functions of an eye, and like I used to work at this ophthalmologist, and this ophthalmologist center. They like do surgery on the retina, and the imagery of what's inside the eye is just so amazing. I've been always inspired by that. These like radials kind of represent the veins and the retina macula on the inside. This is a fun installation. This show is my senior install show at Local Street Galleries. It's just like me for scale. What's on the walls, paper, works on paper, and also wood panels. These are those three that you saw on the left, titled It Until Sundown. It was really inspired by paranoia and war, and thinking that I was drafted, and thinking that there was going to be a lot of violence in the future. And I hope that's not going to happen. I hope that's not like how my foresight painting. And these are my most recent paintings. It's titled Open Eye and Through the Lid. I incorporated these weaving structures because I started taking a digital room class, and it taught me a lot about values using Photoshop, really, and the different ways Photoshop could be implemented in different technologies. So I actually used a collage of these negative spaces that I've cut out from this image. So these are a lot of ovals, ellipses, like spiky patterns, and then I just glued them onto here. Pretty much a pattern over a pattern with another pattern within the pattern. That's just how I feel like see the world. Is like there are things. There's a flat piece of paper, and then when you get to look at it, you can see the grains. You can see little grooves in it, and I think that's what's so beautiful about like really simple things. Is like once you get to look at it, it becomes really flat. It becomes really like personal to me. And when I'm on the one on the right, it's more based off of when I'm closing my eyes. And these phosphenes, they're like ghost images, like light that you could see when you close your eyes. Like if I close my eyes right now, it's not completely black. It's got sparkles. It's got different arrays of colors, and like they're cascading sometimes, especially right before I sleep. Sometimes I'll think about like the phosphenes, and I have almost a screensaver type thing that happens, and if I focus pretty well on them, I'll fall asleep, and the next morning I'll remember a really vivid dream. And that's where my inspiration is coming from. It's like the moments between being awake, lying in bed, about to fall asleep. Like I can't record that. I can't record it. It's like, how do you record something with your eyes closed? And that's somewhere I'm trying to get at with my art right now. That's my goal. That's where I want to be in like the next maybe 2 months. I'm really trying to get to that point. But yeah, that's the end of my presentation. If you want to reach me.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Anna will engage. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. I just have to tell you, like, I love how confident you are when you're speaking about your work. I love that you love your work. I think there's a lot of artists like, those like early works. You're like, no, you're like, I knew what I was doing. I love that confidence. Like, keep that up. Like, that's absolutely, and obviously you're very skillful, very sophisticated, very intentional, and you should really be proud of yourself. Like, Yeah, I wrote some lexicon about your work. I wonder if that's like,
Oh, tell me, please.
yeah, I said patterns distorted, agitated, complicated abstractions, but fluent and decisive, corrupted. I think this is like this, I kept saying these kind of things, so I wrote them. I just want to share with you. But I also really was excited about how each of your abstractions or your patterns had a starting point, like the ripples that came from the shower, or the shot before shower, it was the like you being a swimmer, and it's also like very personal. You being a swimmer and then becoming like that water, you think about water and then making water paintings, fountains, people, and then you go to the next stage, which is like, then what is water? How do I depict water? And then it turns into, okay, what if it's more abstract, like ripples? Yeah, I just love that. And also I love the fact that you work for an ophthalmologist, like you work as an ophthalmologist, right?
I worked for an ophthalmologist.
For an ophthalmologist, because I always thought it's the strangest thing when they take a picture of your pupil eye and like it's so bright light, and you know, like, and when you're talking about like how you're trying to depict what you see when you close your eyes, I was like closing my eyes, like, so many shapes.
They did an experiment on me, kind of. Like I had my face like in front of this screen that just flashed all of these lights, and I think it has affected me somehow. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it till today. I'm a little bit like, what did you do? What did you do to me?
Yeah, but I love like that experience turns into something physical on paper. Yeah, it's really interesting to like, if I just saw your work at the window gallery, like I wouldn't necessarily know the information, but knowing that background information makes me really, really appreciate, and you know, captures me. So I don't know how much you reveal that kind of information.
I don't reveal it that often, especially for the right window gallery. It was, I wanted the whole window to have that,
Mm.
and then I lost a lot of materials. But yeah, I think revealing the fact that I used to like have experience within like ophthalmology and the retina, like I titled my senior thesis retinal detachment, and then my dad came to my show and he's like, "Oh, did you know I specialize in that?" I was like, "No, I did not."
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I also love that like you were talking about how dots being like representation of chatter or radio station or that distance. So yeah, can you talk a little bit more about like your interest? Maybe do you have interest in technology or this kind of technologies, or is it more of the idea of
It
the abstraction?
Are you talking about like dots being chatter and technology?
Yeah, I mean,
Because
like, you were talking about like how you also think about them as like radio stations, and you know, like something maybe not technologic but more like statical. Yeah.
yeah, so when I was an illustrator, a lot of my critiques would be like, "Oh, your work looks really static. Your work looks really still." And so I was like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna create static now. Like I'm just gonna go for it."
Mhm.
Um, and the chatter is just like how do I paint a word type thing. So
Mhm.
I feel like that's where my ink drops came from.
I like that you assign yourself this kind of challenges. That's very exciting. Yeah. And it was very fun, like before you pointed out you actually recycled a painting in your collage. I thought that was brilliant too.
Yeah, I like reworking works. I think they could always get better and change form and just grow with myself.
Mhm.
I also like that those titles of your work. You have a really great way of titling the work very cleverly that adds so much to the work. Thank you, Eric, so much.
Thank you.
Well, I would like to say to all of our presenters today, congratulations and thank you. If you'd like to do a D-mic and scream out names right now, it'd be a great time to do it. Woohoo! Congratulations, everybody.
Yay!
Thank you all so much, and a special thank you to Anna for joining us and hearing your great comments and words and thoughts about our graduating artists. We appreciate that, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your day and weekend. For those of you who are in my class, we will see you at Hubble Street Galleries, and then we're going to walk over to Meigie's show on the main campus, so we'll do that at 4. And but everybody else, thank you so much for coming. And have a great rest of your day. I appreciate you all. Bye-bye.